Range of sandwiches from the savory Philly steak to tempting turkey bacon avocado. Explore crispy chicken, fish, brisket, and pulled pork options. Check out mavericksbeef.com or visit them off Lexington and Roseville. That's Mavericks Real Roast Beef.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the afternoon drive and nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. And, of course, on BAM, Blue Amp Media at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show here for your Tuesday, which means we got Patrick Cooligan coming on in here in the next hour to talk a little bit of things from the Minnesota Reformer. Patrick is here with us today. Hello, Patrick. How are we?
Good afternoon. How's the start to your week?
It's magical and fun. It's been a busy day for me. I've been running around taking care of and getting a lot of things done. Well, and hold on a second there. I'm not trying to cancel and do emergency calls or anything like that. I'm trying to just turn the volume down on my phone so I can see all the fine people. This is how I see all the fine people that are watching me on Blue Amp Media. So hello there. It's good to see you. It's good to be with you today. Something just dawned on me today, and I didn't even realize it until really today. I mean, the Olympics actually start this week. Don't they usually avoid the Super Bowl?
I think in the winter they overlap a little bit. I seem to recall that might have happened the last time we had the Winter Olympics. That was so long ago and so much has happened. I don't know.
It's been a long 10 years so far this year. No, it has. I will say this. Again, we got the opening ceremony. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe it's because of when I was a kid, it was still somewhat magical. When I'll turn on the coverage and I'll hear boom, 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 boom. The timpani boy start up. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in. And I like the Olympics. I really do. I'm a little concerned at how our athletes are going to be greeted there. On one side, I think that if you're an athlete from Minnesota, you're going to be hailed as a returning hero. But I think that anytime people see the American flag, I don't know if it's going to go over too well in Italy, especially with the ICE agents out there as well. Is there any of the weirder sports that you're a big fan of in the winter games?
I know what you're talking about. I don't have any on the tip of my tongue right now.
The speed skating death cult. What is that? They're flying around basically a circle at high speeds with knives on their feet. And it's amazing we haven't seen anyone killed on that one.
Oh, right. Especially the ice skates are about twice as long as a regular ice skate. It's crazy to watch.
And I'm just going to make an observation here about Olympic athletes. What is with the Netherlands and the insanely attractive skaters that they have? Holy God, they're all like fashion models.
I couldn't comment on that, but I'll take your word for it.
It is the Go Netherlands in your orange suit. Yeah, have you seen your flag? Never mind. I don't want to know. They are, hello there. They're an attractive bunch. Apparently that's if you're an attractive person in the Netherlands, they immediately put, those 9-inch skates on your legs and off you go. Curling. I mean, of course, that's the bowling of the winter. It's the closest thing any of the Olympics gets to bowling. If they ever host the Olympics in Wisconsin, I guarantee you bowling is going to be part of it. Do you enjoy bowling or curling? Do you enjoy that at all?
Yeah, curling's fun to watch too.
The Jessie Diggins, of course, the cross-country skier when they won the relay. And of course, we have the great story, which I felt so sorry for her. She won that in, 2018? I believe it was 2018. She won that. She came out with a book and she was going to do a big tour with it. And we actually got the chance to interview Jessie Diggins. And, she's from Minnesota. And once again, was it the first time? Do you remember if it was the first time they ever won a medal and they won the gold on the cross-country skiing?
That sounds about right.
Or it'd been a long time since it happened. And, of course, had that great call. And here comes Diggins down the lane. And loved it. And we did this interview, and it was great. We got in here early because we had to call her over in Scandinavian time. And she had I just finished my cool down. I said, what was your cool down? She goes, I skated. She was doing, I guess, a road skate for 100 miles. That was her cool down. Okay, just if you want to understand the mentality of the Olympic athlete, it's that right there. My cool down is 100-mile ski skate down the roads of Norway or Sweden or wherever she was at. But my God. Unfortunately, we interviewed her, and I think 2 days later, everything in this country shut down because of COVID. And we ended up actually airing this interview after her book tour and everything was canceled. And I felt so sorry. It was a great book. If you haven't want to read a good book, it's the Jesse Diggins book is a pretty good one. But yeah, I'll be rooting for her. She's back at the Olympics again on the cross country scale. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, hockey. Although, yeah, we generally haven't done too well lately there.
Yeah, kind of the other sport is the skeleton, but I think the more extreme luge.
Is that the one they're face first, or is that their face first or their feet first?
I think it might be either. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, you get dinged in on that one. I saw an Olympic preview bit on one of it's either the skeleton or the luge. It was one of the two, and the woman kind of went over and she showed the bruise on her leg a day later. I mean, my God, yikes! Go team, go! You know, don't fall. I mean, I've got some ice hills around me where you can go sledding, where I can shoot you off at about 1,000,000 miles an hour if you need to go. But just be careful out there, everyone. So Olympics start on Friday. Actually, they start. Is it Wednesday, tomorrow, or Thursday? Because they got to get the women's ice hockey games are already going to be starting.
Yeah, so there are a few things that happen before the opening ceremony. I think you're right that's hockey. There might be some skiing events in there too.
Some preliminaries, yeah. So yeah, I think I do believe on Thursday the U.S. women's hockey team plays, which is, as a Minnesotan, I'm watching, of course. 3 a.m. on my way. There we go. 952-946-6205. I want to talk a little bit about, because there is a Janine Pirro, the Grand Dragon of DC. She this morning had to come on out and do what a lot of Republicans have had to do in the last, few days, which is explain that they have not completely and totally reversed their opinion on the Second Amendment, although they still don't want to necessarily abandon this. Now, to recap here, Alex Preddy was killed, murdered in the street by Border Patrol agents, who then violated his body in the street by taking off his clothes and counting the bullet holes and laughing. Freaking war crime if you were in the military. The argument that immediately they came out with was that you can't, even with a licensed firearm that he was legally carrying, that you should have never carried that to a protest. How dare you? You deserve to be shot. Now, mind you, all these Stop the Steal rallies, people have been asking, it's like, well, how many guys were at the Stop the Steal rallies were lock and loaded? And most of them say, oh, yeah, there was tons of people there with guns. Mind you, they're saying this knowing that there have been right-wing gun owners at protests who are now being told, if you bring that gun, we're going to shoot you in the face. And because Trump wanted to push this, suddenly, and I talked about this a week ago Monday, was you guys have been the party of the Second Amendment for 40 years, and all of a sudden now it's because you just want the narrative to be true that gunning down a man in the streets, whether or not they're legally carrying a gun or they're not carrying a gun, is justified by the fact that they had the gun, because that's basically the only thing you could try to tie to him. It's why you initially lied and said that he pulled his gun. And of course, Jean Pereiro, she basically went out and was saying that if you bring a gun into DC, I'm going to arrest you myself, which is, once again, here is the Second Amendment crowd going, what? Wait a second here. I mean, did you guys just turn on us almost completely? Now, she today was out there trying to clean up her things, but she did still say, I don't have any problem confiscating your guns. So, that I hope you enjoyed all your votes for these guys, because they're pretty much over at this point, I'm going to presume. But I want to point out how the modern Republican operates in regards to Trump today, because this is really the crazy part about the whole thing. They're, and for lack of a better way to say it, drunk on Trump. You know your friend whom they get drunk and all of a sudden they start making mistakes. You've been around a person who's been drunk and all of a sudden start saying things that they really shouldn't be saying. Or you see, someone who gets drunk and all of a sudden start kissing somebody they shouldn't be kissing, that sort of thing. And, what it happens is you're drunk. And so your inhibitions drop and you kind of become the person that you are on the inside. That's what alcohol does. I don't drink, and I'm kind of glad I don't. But that's kind of what alcohol does. You drink a lot, and next thing you know, all of a sudden you're making out with a coworker when you didn't want to necessarily do that. But okay, fine, there you go. You're at a Coldplay concert. Okay, next thing you know. So, it is a interesting element of the modern Trump Republican that he'll say something and they, without even thinking about it, will immediately back it up. Oh yeah, I'm 100% against gun rights. The new one now is, oh yeah, we even though the Constitution says elections are run on the state level, I'm 100% for getting rid of that and basically going into 15 different metro areas and running their elections because they better not vote for Democrats, that sort of thing. And they don't even hear the tyranny. They don't even hear the fascism. They don't even hear the complete reversals of their own platform afterwards. And so it's what Gene Pirro was doing this morning was, what did I say last week? I said I was against guns? Man, I was really drunk on Trump then. Whoa, I better get out there and say something. That's exactly what it is. I was French kissing fascism? Oh my God. I need to clarify this. I didn't mean to give full tongue here. I was just saying maybe we should be a little more concerned about voter integrity, whatever the case may be. This is the modern Republican, and this is why they're kind of despicable, is because they don't have any kind of regulatory filter now because their first and only occupation is defending Trump. And then they actually listen to what they said after the fact, which is turning to be hilarious, frankly. I mean, if you want to look through this, watching Republicans say, wait a minute, I was for rounding people up and gunning them behind the school and burying their bodies in the saga. When did I say that? Well, I've got some audio you should hear because you were glug, glug, glug on the old Trumpy. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
AM 950 would like to thank everyone who joined and donated during our winter membership drive. Your support shows that Minnesotans still value an independent progressive radio station that delivers facts, not spin. AM 950 is locally owned, based right here in the Twin Cities, and dedicated to uplifting small businesses and diverse communities. At a time when some voices are being pushed aside, AM 950 refuses to be silenced. Please help keep progressive radio on the air. Visit am950radio.com and donate today.
Hi, I'm Mary T. Caring for others runs deep in my family. My grandmother, Rosa, was a nurse who cared for people in their homes more than a century ago. Inspired by her compassion, my mother, Margaret, and I founded the Mary T. family of companies nearly 50 years ago. Today, we continue that legacy across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maryland, and Arizona, providing senior living, assisted living with memory care, home health, hospice care, rental housing, and support for people with disabilities. Each service is personal, creative, and focuses on the unique needs of those we serve. We also believe in joy and community, which is why we opened Crooner Supper Club in Fridley, a place to celebrate life with music, laughter, and connection. At Mary T., we're proud to be a Minnesota family company rooted in compassion, inclusion, and respect, and proud supporters of AM 950 and the values that this station represents. Visit MaryTinc.com to learn more.
Congratulations to Mary T, named one of the most admired CEOs of 2026 by the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal.
Blue Man Group's North American Tour is coming to the State Theater February 13th through 15th. Dive into the thrilling Blue Man Group experience, a blend of captivating music, interactive art, and audience engagement. Blue Man Group creates a fun, disruptive, and out-of-the-ordinary atmosphere that exhilarates the senses and uplifts spirits for audiences of all ages. Tickets are on sale now at hennepinarts.org.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. By the way, find me on the Substack there. Go Matt McNeil Show at Substack. Matt McNeil Show on Blue Sky as well. That's where I primarily hang out in those two places. But you can find me on Threads at Matthew McNeil 1 and Progressive Citizen X Matt McNeil Show on Facebook as well. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. The shutdown is ended, the partial government shutdown. The U.S. House of Representatives today passed a funding measure that will end the partial government shutdown while giving Democrats time to negotiate with the White House and Congress Republican leaders over restrictions on Trump's mass deportation campaign. So it should be noted. So what I found to be funny is Speaker Johnson was in the media on Friday and Saturday saying, we're never going to pass this. We're going to go for a long-term shutdown. Somebody must have talked to him and said, hey, we can get most of this stuff passed. We need to get it passed. And we can DHS we can work with later. So they that's what happened. The Republican-controlled chamber approved the $1.2 trillion appropriations measure, 117 to 114, with all but 21 Republicans voting in favor, all but 21 Democrats against. Trump is expected to sign it. I'd love to know those 21 Democrats have voted for this. Still, my guess is moderates. I think of the Republicans first. Trump is expected to sign it, ending the shutdown that began, but it's not the complete reopening. The funding lapse occurred after the Democrats refused to approve continued funding in the DHS in the Senate. Democrats have demanded the host of guardrails be imposed on the ICE forces and other agencies involved in Trump's mass deportation campaign. Among their conditions is the requirement that federal agents wear body cameras, cease wearing masks, follow a code of conduct, and obtain arrest warrants for people in the country illegally, which, you know, the law. Democrats initially blocked the spending package in the Senate last week, prompting the White House to agree to a deal. So the DHS is funded for 2 weeks now. While they work out the rest of these details, they'll have to pass this again at some point. Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said the changes in his party always demanding must be part of a full year appropriations bill. So, don't cave on this stuff, guys. Don't fund DHS. If DHS doesn't want to go maskless, they shouldn't be wearing masks. That is, stormtrooper crap. That is, yeah. And here's the great tell. If 70% of ICE agents don't want to be ICE agents because people could see their face, it means they know what they have been doing is illegal and they don't want to be held accountable for it. So even more justification to take the masks off these clowns. And we do have more evidence of this. Once again, this is why the ICE agents are out of control. Let's go over to Portland. After U.S. Border Patrol agents shot 2 Venezuelan immigrants in Portland in January, the Department of Homeland Security claimed that the 2 victims were vicious gang members who weaponized their vehicle against federal agents who had no choice but to open the fire. Yeah. They were saying it was self-defense. However, court records obtained by The Guardian reveal that the Department of Justice prosecutor subsequently told the judge the government was not suggesting that one of the victims was a gang member. Really? Because I got tons of social media posts and everything and all these interviews where you're talking about gang members in Portland, but when they get into a courtroom, it's judge, I don't want anyone hearing this. Yeah, he wasn't a gang member. I don't know where those guys got it from. They're kind of goofy, but they're crazy. I mean, Stephen Miller is, full on Garing, but yeah, I don't know. We're not saying they're gang members. Just we don't like them. Because that's what it is. They're desperate. I mean, no, they don't want any of the news coverage to cover the fact that they basically are doing an abrupt about face. They want every elderly, white-haired individual in this country going, I know that they were those gang members. And so they're trying to keep it quiet. The Guardian obtained an FBI affidavit contradicting the DHS claims about the second victim being involved in a shooting in Portland last year, when in reality she was reported victim of sexual assault and robbery. So I want to make sure we understand what ICE has said here. The FBI said, oh, no, this wasn't somebody who committed a crime. Because they got the ICE report that said, oh, she's guilty of crimes. Oh, my gosh, she's going to kill us all. And the truth is, she was the victim of a crime last year and of sexual assault and robbery. And so the ICE agents, deciding that sexual assault needs to be even more painful, have now accused her of being the villain. Attorneys representing the two, who both survived the shooting, were subsequently hospitalized, told The Guardian that neither of them had prior criminal convictions. Legal experts who spoke with The Guardian about the shooting said it appeared DHS was waging a smear campaign against the victims. Sergio Perez, a civil rights lawyer and former U.S. prosecutor, noted in an interview that prosecutors filed criminal charges against them just 2 days after they were shot, even before it obtained crucial video evidence of the incident. The government needs to go back to the practice of slow, thorough investigations that, Carly Palmer, a former federal prosecutor, told The Guardian that the court records obtained in the paper do not show DOJ presenting any of the usual evidence that prosecutors use to establish defendants' alleged gang membership. So basically, once again, it's the character assassination. Is they arrest two people, they claim were doing something which they were not doing, insist that they're violent gang members, run with that, have, the Taco Bell, Karen Levitt, have DHS and Christie Shoot the Puppy Gnome, and all the ICE guys all claim, oh, yes, this was a bad person, get everyone on Fox News, and this, oh, thank God they got the gang members, and then get into, Judge, I don't want this getting out, but they're really not anything we said they were. Shh, don't let Fox News know. Yeah. Also, I should mention, too, speaking of lies, and this is what they are doing, a federal judge appointed by Trump scolded top administration officials for their troubling statements about Alex Preddy in the immediate aftermath of his fatal shooting by two federal immigration officers in Minneapolis. But the judge said inflammatory statements and potentially compromised crime scene are not enough to block federal law enforcement agencies from handling evidence for now. Now, I would make an argument, considering they are pushing an agenda, that judge, with all due respect, clearly they should not be trusted with the evidence, because clearly they have shown they want a certain agenda being pushed, something that is backed up by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis being told to don't investigate the murder of Renee Good, investigate her wife as the villain in the entire process. Exactly. Hours after last month's shooting, Minnesota officials sued to block Homeland Security from destroying or altering any evidence. Stephen Miller, a.k.a. the Garing, he basically labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist who tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. Homeland Security said Preddy's death looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. And by the way, there is a video that shows, it does seem to show the ICE agents planting the magazines on Preddy's body. You remember those two extra magazines which they used? Clearly, he was trying to go kill people. There's a video out which seems to show ICE agents putting those magazines on there. The judge said these statements are troubling. They reflect not a genuine interest in learning the truth, but snap judgments informed by speculation and motivated by political partisanship. Yeah, which would mean, Judge, in my mind, you probably shouldn't let these clowns have the evidence because they clearly can't be trusted with reality. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Denver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 18, tonight cloudy with a low around 8, and Wednesday cloudy with a high near 24. Go Dog Go or Ve Perove opens this week at Children's Theater Company. Get tickets today for this joyful bilingual musical where delightful dogs drive, swim, play baseball, and race to the big dog party. Get tickets today at childrenstheater.org. That's childrenstheater.org.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Na na na, come on. Na na na, come on. Na na na, come on.
Broadcasting in the afternoon drive in the evening hours in Seattle, 11:50 a.m. KKNW, and 9 o'clock at night in Chicago, WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk on BAM, Blue Amp Media, blueamp.co, on Substack Live. Hello there. And, of course, live as well on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Tuesday. Nice to have you with us here. So I want to get into the Daily Mail over in London, which has done an amazing piece, a deep dive into the Epstein files that have so far been released. And they're pointing to something that is, I think it's insanely obvious at this point, but is just not getting reported here. And I want to talk a little bit about that before I get into this. If you go to England, I mean, anyone whose name was mentioned in the Epstein files in England is now persona non grata. I mean, they are getting run out. They're getting shut down. They're being forced to resign because they realize that anybody that's in there, especially with some consistency, probably raped kids, or at least knew of people raping kids and didn't say a damn thing about it. And so, yeah, they are treating it like it should be treated. I mean, if you had, I mean, we need to talk about how the national news media in this country has failed us spectacularly on what is undeniably a massive child sex and child trafficking ring that has been going on within the top echelon levels of our government, primarily within the Republican Party and the Republican advocates and the Republican money people, where people have been, at best, around child rape and have not said anything. And that's the best thing you can say about these people. The worst is you can say that they all participate, these people have participated in, raping children and trafficking children. And we should have a standard where that's the deal breaker, shouldn't we? Yet, when I talk to Republicans about this is the entire argument. Well, that 13-year-old is lying, and that 13-year-old lied, and that 14-year-old lied, and that 13-year-old lied, like they were all part of one group, ignoring the fact that these are over different times and different places, different investigations, yet all describing the same behavior that was going on. And Donald Trump clearly was involved in this in some large scale. And some of the allegations that came out against him should have been the end of him. That any Republican with an ounce of dignity to their name would have said, wait a second, what he's accused of what? And I brought this up yesterday, that if this was a Democrat, if any of these allegations were leveled against a sitting Democratic president, the Republican Party would implode. They would go crazy. There would be 100 investigations. There would be every Democrat being asked a question. And the national news media, who has failed us spectacularly on this issue, would all be sitting there going, yeah, we go after Democrats, but the Republicans, they own the paper I'm at, or they own the news network I'm at. So, he was just there to have fun. I don't know what he was doing. It is an embarrassment of what is going on. But there's even a darker truth to all of this, which is in front of our faces, yet we don't want to acknowledge the reality. And the Daily Mail in Britain has brought this forward, a deeply researched and investigative report, the result of a long collaboration between columnists Glenn Owen and Dan Hodges, along with Mark Hookham, and Daisy Graham Brown. It's shocking in its detail and its implication that Vladimir Putin has basically owned Donald Trump for years, well before Trump ran for president in 2016. They note in last week's partial Epstein document release, which is about 50% of the documents, the files include 1,056 documents. 1,056 documents naming Vladimir Putin, 9,629 referring to Moscow. Jeffrey Epstein even seems to have secured audiences with Putin after his 2008 conviction for procuring a child for a prostitution. Essentially, they're arguing that Epstein was running an operation on behalf of the KGB Putin that lured wealthy and powerful men to Epstein's New York and Palm Beach mansions and his island, where they were serendipitously filmed having sex with underage girls. The material was then presumably passed along to Putin, who used it as leverage for whenever he needed it. Yeah, I think that this is called compromise. This is what the Russians have done for years. This KGB stuff, and that's Putin. That's his background. It's not what's KGB. It's what came after KGB, and that was his deal there.
The FSB.
And the FSB. Thank you very much. But this is standard operating procedure. Basically they don't have the international clout to carry. I mean, they're not exactly, operating the world. So what they do is they get somebody, get them drunk in a hotel, have them have sex with, somebody they shouldn't be having sex with, and then bribe them to get things done. And frankly, Tulsi Gabbard seems to be a Russian agent, and she's in charge of our national intelligence. So, yeah, it explains a lot. Intelligence sources believe Epstein was running the world's largest honey trap operation on behalf of the KGB when he procured women for his network of associates. In return for giving Putin videos of wealthy, famous men in criminally compromising positions, Putin reportedly arranged for massive amounts of corrupt Russian money to be handed to Epstein to launder in the U.S. Such money typically comes from illicit drugs and oil deals, outright theft, sanction evasions, and Russian organized crime oligarchs, including Putin and his associates, because once again, they're just a big bunch of mobsters. And it's frequently laundered in this country using real estate. It's the mafia's favorite too. America has the most lax and largely useless real estate transaction laws in the developed world. So a main way to launder such dirty cash is through cash-based real estate transactions, which are illegal in almost every other developed country, but not here because the criminals can go buy the land. And we know that Trump and his sons, when U.S. and European banks refused to loan him any more money after his multiple bankruptcies, started taking in enough money to ensure the survival of his little real estate empire, and it was all coming from Russia. Exactly. Reminder that Donald Trump is the dumbest, worst businessman ever. He's a grifter. That's all he is. And when put in charge of actual businesses, every one of them spectacularly failed. He is the most incompetent boob in the history of mankind. And the fact that none of you guys on the right actually took any time to actually research when you sit there and said, he's a good businessman. Is he? He bankrupted a casino. That doesn't happen too often. As Don Jr. told wealthy attendees of a 2008 real estate conference, in terms of high-end product influx into the U.S., Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets. Similarly, Eric Trump told a friend who later testified about it, well, we don't rely on American banks. We have all the funding we need out of Russia. I said, really? He said, oh, yeah, we got some guys that really love golf, and they're really invested in our programs. And we just go there all the time. This is one of the reasons why Senator Wyden of Oregon, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Financial Committee, has been demanding access to Epstein's finances and even introduced legislation to require the disclosure, which Republicans are currently blocking, because they all know the truth. They all know the truth. And I'm not saying every Republican was out raping children with Epstein, but I think they all know that enough of the big money people and the people that pull the strings within the Republican Party were indeed raping children, or at least aware of children being raped, and don't want to see their party implode. It's going to come on out, guys. And you're going to sit there and they lied to me. Does anybody raise your hand if anyone thinks, any Republican saying, I had no idea about the child rape stuff, has any credibility? Of course they don't. We've been screaming that this is a big problem. And now, and once again, they released this. I give Saturday Night Live credit when he said, we invaded Minneapolis to get the Epstein files off the front page, but Minneapolis went so bad, we released the Epstein files, get Minneapolis off the front page. And they seem to have quickly released this information because there's a lot of stuff here that has, in that latest release, which is showing that, yeah, it does seem as if Russia had basically been using Epstein as their, intelligence gatherer, namely the intelligence being which, leaders of this country, primarily the Republican Party, and which of the top financial people in this country, mostly Republicans, are raping kids. The documents released last weekend include a series of email conversations between Epstein and senior European officials close to Putin. This is way beyond Gary Hart and monkey business. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to be anything close to what these guys have exposed here that's ever happened in this country before. This is the president of the United States being in the pocket of a foreign power and profiting from it. They pretty much openly suggest Epstein knew about ways to handle Trump. Other messages revealed Epstein claimed he could give the Kremlin valuable insight into Mr. Trump ahead of a summit with Putin in Helsinki. In a June 2018 exchange, Epstein indicated that Russia's ambassador to the UN understood Trump after our conversations. Earlier that month, Epstein had also messaged Steve Bannon, a Trump ally, to tell him that basically he was due to meet Putin and Lavrov and was staying overnight with him in his mansion in Paris. Epstein, of course, died under mysterious circumstances in jail while Trump was president. Now, Epstein's partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, has been moved to a country club type of facility where she reportedly spends the days training puppies. As Republicans consultant Harlan Hill noted in Twitter for the first time at the time of Epstein's supposed suicide, dead men tell no tales. Just as Jeffrey Epstein starts to name names, he decides to kill himself. Okay, totally believable. And that's called sarcasm. I mean, I guess we're lucky that he wasn't in one of those high-rise prisons where he could have, oh, no, look, he accidentally fell off the 13th floor once again. Oh, that's trouble. You got to be careful with these decks. I said deck. If Epstein had given Putin video of Trump having sex with underage girls, and Trump knows it and has for decades, how might that have changed Trump's behavior? Might it provoke him to hang a photo of Putin in the White House or go along with Putin's daily slaughter of Ukrainians? Give Trump top diplomatic information that burned a spy and anti-Russian operation? Remember that happened in his first meeting back in his first term. To tell the world he trusts Putin over the U.S. intelligence services, which he did. Tell a Putin-friendly conspiracy fan in charge of, put him in charge of U.S. intelligence, namely Tulsi Gabbard. Severely damaged NATO, a perpetual thorn in Putin's side. I mean, if you look at what's going on with Greenland and NATO, that is indeed, Trump is clearly doing Vladimir Putin's bidding on that. Shatter our alliances with the EU and other democratic nations. Refuse to make America dues payments to the UN, claiming that body is to be shut down, perhaps permanently this summer. Steal U.S. intelligence secrets, including top secret nuclear information, put it in place where Russian spies or their associates can easily access and photocopy it. Unleash an ICE in a way that turns Americans against each other, leading to the second U.S. Civil War that Russia media and Putin's number two man had been gleefully predicting. Gut America's soft power around the world by shutting down U.S. aid, leading to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of mostly children in the third world, while opening opportunities for Putin and Xi to pick them up as new alliances. They go through this. I want to make sure you need to read this. I'll post the entire article. You should go through this because they back up all this stuff. And I think we have to step back and make sure we understand what is really going on here. Jeffrey Epstein seems to have been working with Vladimir Putin. Jeffrey Epstein was a child sex abuser and a child sex trafficker. We know that. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was very close to Donald Trump. We know that through allegations that Trump was hosting numerous events with Epstein and young underage girls. And some of the allegations include him raping and violently attacking underage girls. Multiple, hundreds of allegations against Trump, which the Republicans just say, they're lying, and then they're lying, and then they're lying, and then they're lying. And that's the only way they can make any of this go away. Because either they know what is going on, or they're complicit in what's been going on. They themselves are compromised as well. This is an incredibly dangerous point we are at in this country. And the Republican Party seems to be willing to turn this country into a civil war to stop the truth from ever coming on out. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Or to banish ghosts and goblins.
Blue Man Group's North American Tour is coming to the State Theater February 13th through 15th. Dive into the thrilling Blue Man Group experience, a blend of captivating music, interactive art, and audience engagement. Blue Man Group creates a fun, disruptive, and out-of-the-ordinary atmosphere that exhilarates the senses and uplifts spirits for audiences of all ages. Tickets are on sale now at hennepinarts.org.
Hey, this is Andy Otto, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride and your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Our community needs your help. Twin Cities Pride is collecting donations to help our local community in need. We're collecting everything from shelf-stable food to household cleaning supplies, infant care items, and personal care products at our Pride Cultural Arts Center. If you're looking to help, reach out to us at info@tcpride.org or just stop by 1201 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. It's our time to take care of our community and take care of each other all year long.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. You know, I got to be honest with you. The afternoon drive host of the progressive station in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I don't think should be the guy breaking the story nationally. Hey, there's a lot of connections between Vlad Putin and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. And boy, oh boy, it sure seems like Donald Trump's doing exactly like Vlad Putin has wanted, like almost like he's got videos of Trump having sex with kids and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't think I should be. We used to have a day when I would be like the last person that would cover something like this, but I guess CBS is too busy with, something. What's Melania's favorite color? Oh my God, it's breaking news. Oh my God. We're so effed. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. David is in San Francisco, one of the prettiest cities on the planet. Hey, David.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Yeah, and nice sunny day today. Hey, some years ago, I ran into a book called Comrade J, and it's about a former, I guess he started out as a KGB agent, and this is just before 1991 and the fall of the Soviet Union. And he then moved on to I'm trying to remember what the agency was for spies for the Soviet Union's foreign affairs department. But he has a long section in there about Putin, and they couldn't figure out what his motivations were. And so this book was written in the early 90s. And if you remember, at the fall of the Soviet Union, everything that had been previously owned by the government was reverted back to the White Russians, the people who were the aristocrats during the Tsar. So in 1992 or something like that, everything that had been owned 70 years before all of a sudden goes back to these White Russians. And
David, I don't mean to cut. I mean, you're making a lot of good points here. I've got a finite amount of time left in the show. It sounds like a longer topic that you want to bring up. By all means, send me a message. Send me something in regards to a link to this, and I can get that book out for people if they would like to read it themselves. I'll make sure I post it on the social media pages. If you could get that to me, it's good, because like I said, I got other things I got to get to, and I appreciate your passion and I appreciate your time, but it's just, I think we all know Vlad Putin, bad. Okay, I think in summation, jackass. So I say it like that. Oh, fun times here. Breaking news from this radio personality in Minneapolis. Hey, we're about to see the entire end of democracy as we know it. Hey, but back to the Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, exactly. You want to know how crazed that Trump is? World leaders arrive this year for the Group of 20 summit hosted by U.S. in Miami later this year. They'll be greeted by a massive gold statue depicting the owner of the summit venue, Trump. The new statue of Trump, which is just god-awful, has been funded by a group of cryptocurrency enthusiasts who have named the project Don Colossus. Clearly not, no truth in advertising there. Commissioned the likeness of the president as a way to drum up publicly support for its meme coin. Like I said, you're not a real investment. You're just not. Yeah, and by the way, I think, they had more dignity throwing the sex toys on the courts than you do with you guys. Basically, I mean, what are you doing with that statue? Ugh. Cryptos. Anyway, according to the New York Times, a steel and concrete pedestal has been built for the statue, which is being sculpted by Alan Cultrell at the Trump National Doral outside of Miami. God, just... Well, how dare you call us worshiping him like a god? Now, back up while we put up the 20-foot statue and I get ready to bow down for his likeness. Yes, of course, my bad. You got your golden calves to worship there. Finally this hour. I don't know. The sterling reputation of Chick-fil-A. I know that this is going to be hard. A black operations executive at Chick-fil-A restaurant in suburban Philadelphia is suing the chain, having been forced to endure incessant bigotry from the franchise owner, according to a federal civil rights lawsuit reviewed by The Independent. For nearly 2 full years, Tiffany Lynch, 38, was subjected to a barrage of discriminatory and stereotypical comments related to her race and the race of other black employees or clientele, her complaint alleges. Among other things, Chick-fil-A's Wayne Square own operator Joshua Grimm, who is white, regularly used the N-word, insinuating that black people smell and they are going to be cheap and they require extra cleanup, according to the complaint. Wow. Just back to the 1950s, isn't it? If Lynch tried to bring up, this is allegedly, I'll get it out of the way now, allegedly. If Lynch tried to bring aboard a black employee, Grimm would question her judgment and attempted to discourage certain hires, asking if they were Nasir Black, referring to a well-spoken and professional black male employee who once worked for the Wayne Square location, or if they were Ghetto Black, the complaint states. It says Grimm's behavior was clear racism and he denigrated even well-to-do black clientele, according to the complaint, which also accuses the 33-year-old of making repeated homophobic comments to Lynch, who is gay. I know. It's does it surprise anybody? I mean, this is allegation. This is an allegation. But would it surprise anybody that the same organization, when they were called out before for their behavior and what they supported in the past, who doubled down and tripled down, now we're finding out who has been enabled? I mean, my guess is this is an individual who said, well, they're going to stand by me no matter what, so I don't need to be drunk to say this stuff. But yeah. By the way, I'm just going to let you know, Chick-fil-A sandwiches suck. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Shake Shack has an amazing chicken sandwich. Popeyes does as well. Yeah, I'll just, food for thought, quite literally. Chicago, Seattle, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
Hey, this is Andy Otto, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride and your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Our community needs your help. Twin Cities Pride is collecting donations to help our local community in need. We're collecting everything from shelf-stable food, household cleaning supplies, infant care items, and personal care products at our Pride Cultural Arts Center. If you're looking to help, reach out to us at info@tcpride.org or just stop by 1201 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. It's our time to take care of our community and take care of each other all year long.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The House has passed and the president has now signed a roughly $1.2 trillion spending package to end the latest partial government shutdown. Ed Donahue has details.
It funds most of the government through the end of September and 2 weeks of funding for the Department of Homeland Security. In the Senate, Washington Democrat Patty Murray says a big fix, especially at ICE, is needed.
Legal immigrants being brutalized, American citizens being detained, American citizens being shot and killed by our own immigration enforcement. The Trump administration needs to take these abuses seriously and understand that what Democrats are demanding is reasonable.
This comes after the shooting deaths of 2 people in Minneapolis at the hands of government officers. House Speaker Mike Johnson says important parameters need to be maintained.
You can't in any way lighten the enforcement requirement of federal immigration law.
I'm Ed Donahue.
Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have finalized an agreement to testify this month in a House investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, bowing to the threat of a contempt of Congress vote. More overseas fallout from the Epstein files. British police have opened a criminal investigation into politician Peter Mandelson over documents that suggest he may have shared market-sensitive information with Epstein while a member of the British government about the 2008 global financial crisis and its aftermath. A Navy fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone, U.S. Central Command says aggressively approached an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. However, the White House says talks with Iran are still on. Tech shares pulled Wall Street lower. The Dow lost 166 points. That's about 0.3%. The S&P fell 0.8%. The Nasdaq 1.4%. The majority of stocks in the S&P rose, but Nvidia, Microsoft, and other software companies pulled the indexes lower. This is AP News.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots?
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
I am the amazing Cassandra, a mechanical fortune teller who can predict the exact date and time of your passing. But 5 teenagers have died, and I alone have the power to save them if they can pass my test of song. Their musical trials begin January 16th at Lyric Arts Theater in Anoka. Ride the cyclone along with them at lyricarts.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 18. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 8. And Wednesday, cloudy with a high near 24. Savor the excellence at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. Elevate your taste buds with their range of sandwiches from the savory Philly steak to tempting turkey bacon avocado. Explore crispy chicken, fish, brisket, and pulled pork options. Check out mavericksbeef.com or visit them off Lexington and Roseville. That's Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Tuesday. Matt and Patrick and Brett. Oh, my. Brett is kind enough to step into the studio here because we got an interview with him coming in. I want to give credit where credit is due. Do you like I believe she's New Zealand singer, Lorde. I think she's fantastic.
Can't say I've heard much about her. So.
Royals, you don't remember that song?
Oh, you're Royal. Yeah. Back 10 years ago? Yeah.
How is it? I am 20 years, I'm 40 years older than you. How do I know this and you don't? Well, because I had kids, and that was right at the time Lorde did that. I do love Lorde. I think she's absolutely an amazing talent, and she's an amazing person too. She's going to donate $204,000 she made on merchandise sales from her 2 sold-out Minneapolis shows last fall to 2 Minnesota immigrants' rights groups. So thank you very much, Lorde. That's very nice of you. I'll tell you, it's seeing protest signs in Paris with Minneapolis on them, and London, and in Athens, and getting contact from our good friend Paul Nyland over in Ukraine saying, "You guys doing okay? Really? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess it tells you how bad things have been going here." And so, but we do appreciate, everyone in Minneapolis does appreciate this. What happens if we win the Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah,
we've been nominated.
Yeah.
It's the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden Trump say, I'm the mayor of the city of Minneapolis now, so give me my new prize. Will they try to do that? I could see that greedy jackass doing it. No, apparently, but we should do it like the Stanley Cup, that everyone in the city gets one day with the Peace Prize. It's here I am going over and having breakfast with it at the Uptown Diner. Here I am. We're going to go strolling down by Minnehaha Falls. It's our day with it.
About 5 million days to do that.
Well, no, 5 million. How many people do you think? It's the city of Minneapolis. It's the
you're doing the state. Yeah.
Well, not in the state.
Yeah.
God, that would be a long time. I mean, I'd probably be gone before it came to me.
Yeah.
But for the city of Minneapolis, it's only 244,000 people within the city proper. For the metro area, it's 3.9 million or something like that. So yeah, so they'll get it eventually. I'm going to guess within a few decades.
Yeah, we've shaved a few decades off by just putting it for Minneapolis.
I want to make sure everyone still knows what's going on out there. This is just an update here, just on the people that are monitoring our streets. Ford Fisher, who has been tracking ICE activity in the Twin Cities, has shared a video from a scene at 18th Avenue South and 27th Street East in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood, where he says at least 2 observers were detained by ICE agents at gunpoint. One of the agents claimed the observers were making threatening hand symbols by basically doing finger guns at them. They do know those aren't loaded, right? Or are we now about to get just pointing at somebody? Is this Pointergate 2.0?
I was just going to go there. That is Pointergate 2.0. Yeah.
Pointergate 2.0. Now, for the people who are I'm listening on Blue Amp right now, a few years back we had Delmonico. Delmonico was the head of the police union in Minneapolis, and he tried to smear, at that point, Mayor Betsy Hodges by saying she was flashing gang signs while out canvassing in neighborhoods. The gang sign was pointing at each other. And of course, we had one idiot TV station in town that ran with that as crisis gang sign pointing is going on. And it actually was the trending back when Twitter wasn't a cesspool. It was the number one, Pointergate was the number one trending thing on the world because we were embarrassed. Now we got Pointergate too, because ICE agents say that finger looks like a weapon. Well, it depends on where I put it. But no, weapon or no. Like, dude, if he's pointing at you, that's not a gun. How bad are you guys at your job? I just want to make the obvious point. And it was only one of the agents said this, but I'm sure has Stephen Miller put out a press release so far that, armed to the teeth. No, those are just teeth. Armed to the teeth. Protesters in Minneapolis making gestures. Hey, I got a gesture for you. You're number one with me, if you know what I mean. So I did one because it is caucus day. Are you caucusing today?
I will be tonight. Yep.
I'll be out there myself. Patrick says he's going to try to get out there as well. Good. Participate, be part of this, because I said this yesterday. This is a form of protesting. You don't like the way things are going right now. Don't sit on the sidelines. Get out there and be active within your community. If you go to the Secretary of State's page in the state of Minnesota, you can find where your caucusing location is, and it will tell you where to go. This is different than an election night. The caucuses are kind of run by the individual party. The Republicans have theirs, the Democrats have theirs. So you need to find out where you need to go if you want to be there for the Republicans or the Democrats, and then you'll have your candidates to caucus with. Now, a reminder here too, in Minnesota, this is more a ceremonial thing. The actual primary comes up later this year. And of course the convention as well later this year, where that will be a little bit more predicate on, who becomes the candidates in those issues. So, but there is the question of what happens if ICE shows up at your precinct caucus center, because they're going to. I think they are going to. This is from the DFL's website. The DFL is committed to safety and security at our precinct caucuses, which are a critical part of our democracy. Working with legal and subject matter experts, we have developed a set of resources and guidances to hold precinct caucuses and ensure a fair and secure process for all of our neighbors while ICE is in our communities. Now, I did talk to somebody, very helpful person. By the way, lovely. The Secretary of State's office is great. I mean, if you do have any questions, call them up and they'll ask them. And they said there basically is no legal justification for a police force of any type to storm a caucus or a voting location. So that should not be happening. So if they try to, kick open the door of a caucus center and start demanding the IDs, they're not legally supposed to, unless they got a warrant. They can't really do that. And I can't believe anyone would sign a warrant to do that. But of course, these guys, look out, Matt's got fingers.
And don't underestimate Trump-appointed judges for signing some sort of warrant.
Visit the Secretary of State's caucus finder to find your in-person caucus location, or find how or where to submit a non-attendee form. If you just go to your search engine, Minnesota Secretary of State's caucus finder, there you go. If you plan to attend your caucus in person, messaging from caucus conveners will promote election of non-attendee delegates to ensure fair and diverse precinct representation. If you do not plan to attend your caucus in person, please fill out a non-attendance form, which comes in a variety of languages. Being physically present at a precinct caucus is not a requirement for being elected, and it should not be treated as a measure of commitment. The goal is to run a fair and respectful caucus that reflects our DFL values, honors people's different circumstances, ensures everyone's treated with equal care. We've trained DFLers and lined up teams so your caucuses have access to constitutional observers ready to lawfully document any ICE activity. Over the last 2 weeks, we have trained over 6,500 Minnesotans in observing and recording ICE, and continue to check the observer site for more details. Legal support through multiple channels, including a hotline for caucus leaders and on-site legal support in high-need precincts, interpreters to assist with non-English speakers, well-trained party leaders. Well, that's a first. We have some stories of some conventions in Minneapolis, which, God. Well-trained party leaders with precinct caucus-specific ICE response training and step-by-step instructions to prepare for and respond to ICE activity and protect our neighbors. Signs, flyers, and cards to help caucus attendees know their rights. So there you go. There's all this. You can go to the dfl.org. They have a big page on this right there, right now, with the caucus night, and they'll give you all the information on that.
I'm glad they have that right now because
yeah.
this is probably a dress rehearsal for what's going to come in November, and we better be prepared like the DFL is doing right now to have observers and legal channels ready to go if
And
ICE
primary
tries to mess with things.
And primary night too. We can't guarantee that they would leave primary night alone on that as well. And yeah, what all of a sudden happens if these ICE agents start showing up and saying, we want all your ballot boxes? I mean, we got big problems with that. And all of a sudden we're going to have there. So this is good that they're doing this. I want to remind everybody of something here. Everybody's got one of these glowing little rectangles. If all of a sudden you're at a caucus site and ICE agents start, trying to force their way in and stuff, get your phones out and for safely, don't try to get in their way per se, but film them and everything that they do, because that's proving to be their biggest Achilles heel is we see you. I know you think my fingers actually are loaded, but they're not. They're fingers. Okay. It doesn't work that way. I shouldn't have done that. That hurt my finger. Ow.
We're going to do the old ICE agent pull my finger thing right there.
There you go. If you see an ICE agent, just put your one finger out there and said, pull my finger, ICE agent. No, don't do that. If they're gonna make up, if they're going to make up charges against you for pointing at them, I can only imagine the charges they'll come up with for if you get a little toot out there at the same time. Chemical warfare was deployed. I'm sorry, I got a delicate tummy. There you go. Fight the good fight, and have your cameras ready. And make sure your phone's charged and your camera's ready. Brett, you get to talk with our good friend Patrick Cooligan over at the Minnesota Reformer. And for everyone out there right now, if you want a great news resource about Minnesota news, the Minnesota Reformer is probably the best right now. I think it's a little bit better than Sahan Journal, but they're both just exceptional right now. And also throw Racket in there as another great one. But Minnesota Reformer is the top echelon right now. And you and Cooligan have a few things you discussed today.
Yeah, we're previewing caucuses, which obviously are taking place tonight. Plus, we're going to go through campaign finance numbers, including Mike Lindell and his campaign buying a boatload of books that were written by Mike Lindell.
So wait a second. He's using campaign funds to buy his own book?
Yeah, and then hand them out as campaign literature.
Where's my Hardee's biscuit? He's on the primary ballot tonight, too. It's going to be fascinating to watch what happens on the Republican side.
Oh, I think he's going to resonate with the base, whether it's at caucuses and especially that state convention. He's going to do well.
Oh, God, it just tells you how that base is. I mean, that's a sub-basement right there. All right, it's Brett talking to Patrick Cooligan from the Minnesota Reformer right here on AM 950.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We're back on a Tuesday afternoon, joined by Patrick Cooligan of the Minnesota Reformer, who usually joins us every Tuesday to talk about some of the latest stories that they have been working on over at minnesotareformer.com. As today, we're going to be talking a lot about local politics since, well, it's caucus night, where many people are going to be taking that first step towards endorsing candidates for positions like governor, Senate, and the state legislature. So we'll be talking about what tonight's caucuses could mean for the Democrats and Republicans. Plus, we have a big endorsement in the U.S. Senate race to replace Tina Smith, as the senator herself, Smith, has made an endorsement in that race. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about campaign finance and Mike Lindell spending a bunch of money on his campaign, and we'll provide some details on that because you'll probably find it pretty interesting. So a lot to get to today. Patrick, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So as I said, our campaign cycle, I guess, officially kicks off tonight, at least for people who are voters. Obviously, the candidates themselves have been out there campaigning for a while, but this is the first step as we're taking towards endorsing candidates for governor, Senate, and the state legislature, as party activists are going to gather all over the state tonight to endorse candidates for those positions. And one of the big things that, of course, will come out of caucuses, of course, outside of many of the rules that they pass or party platforms, is the straw poll for those various races. And I'm curious, what are you expecting from the straw polls that we're going to see for the DFL and the Republican sides? It's obviously the Democrats have a big race for U.S. Senate, while the Republicans are trying to fill both a U.S. Senate race and also a governor's race. What are you expecting from those straw polls tonight?
Yeah, so there'll be a gubernatorial straw poll on the Republican side. It's tough to say. this is the first time we're going to have a significant number of Republicans polled. I think, based on the importance of name recognition, that would certainly put Mike Lindell up there. He's probably the best known candidate, although I don't think he has much of a campaign at this point. But he's certainly a long time, or at least the last 6-7 years, beloved by the Republican base. The House Speaker, Lisa Damas, is probably decently known amongst real active Republicans. Kristen Robbins has been chairing the fraud committee in the House and has sort of raised her profile that way. Kendall Qualls finished the runner-up at the convention in 2022 and has been running for office mostly nonstop since 2020. And he got in the race early. He raised the most money, we learned in campaign finance reports that came out just today. And then there's Scott Jensen, who was the 2022 nominee. So he's pretty well known amongst this crowd. So it's I have no idea where things will stand after the straw poll results come in tomorrow. On the Democratic side, the only really announced major candidate is Senator Amy Klobuchar. I think it'll be interesting to see how many people decline to vote for her, because that'll be a pretty good measure of her strength amongst grassroots Democrats. If you go to a liberal-leaning site like Blue Sky, you see a lot of discontent with Klobuchar. They think she's too moderate. They don't think that she's been confrontational enough with the Trump administration. So the straw poll will give us some sense of the level of enthusiasm for Klobuchar's candidacy after getting in the race last week.
Interesting. So it's not so much that people are going to be possibly voting for another candidate outside of Klobuchar, because, as you said, there's really no other well-known candidates who have entered that DFL race. What you're looking for is more people who just decline to pretty much make a vote for governor in that race. That could be a big indication if she all of a sudden sees like maybe 20 or 30% of voters, just picking numbers out of the sky. I have no idea if those are going to be accurate. If maybe a certain number of people decide, hey, we're not going to vote in that governor's race, that could be a big sign or a possible problem from Klobuchar. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, she wants to go have a good convention that is with a bunch of fired up delegates, and they're going to endorse her by acclamation and fire up that grassroots so they go out and volunteer for her campaign. She doesn't want to face a divided convention that, even lacking an opponent, isn't really fully behind her. And certainly there's some risk of that if she doesn't have the support of those real hardcore activists who tend to go out and caucus and then get elected to the state convention.
Now, how about on that U.S. Senate race? Because we did get that significant endorsement of Tina Smith, of course, the current sitting senator, endorsing Peggy Flanagan to be her replacement. Do you think that could have a big impact on the caucuses tonight in terms of that straw poll for Senate?
Yeah, Senator Smith is a lower profile than Senator Klobuchar, but she's definitely raised her profile and become much more outspoken, especially since she announced her retirement. And she also has a background as a political operative. So, I mean, this is somebody who you definitely want in your corner. She has connections to strong fundraising networks. On the other hand, I don't think it's that surprising. I think that Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who's running for Senate, has kind of locked down the progressive base of the party. That was never really in question, and I think Smith is firmly in that camp. The issue for me right now in that race is immigration, and I think that U.S. Congresswoman Angie Craig, who had a real good success in the very swingy second district in the South and East Metro. She really did well by appealing to independents and even some Republicans. And one way was that she was always closely aligned with law enforcement and with immigration enforcement. She voted for the Lincoln-Riley Act, which was one of the first bills passed and signed by the Republican Congress and signed by President Trump. Now, the tables have obviously turned here, and we're seeing what the Trump administration's immigration agenda is and how cruel it is, and in many cases unconstitutional. And now this issue suddenly becoming really a huge liability for Craig. And so I think more than anything, that race is going to be a reflection of how Democratic voters, whether or not they're willing to be flexible with Craig. Craig certainly has a financial advantage in that race. She's raised a lot of money and continues to do so. But Flanagan right now is on the right side of the immigration issue, which of course has become the issue of the moment, especially for Democratic voters. And so I think she has a real strong advantage going into the caucus and the convention season. But Craig will have her say this summer during the primary campaign when she can spend all that money, presumably on digital and TV ads, and try to reach the maybe less ideological Democrats who vote in a primary, as opposed to the convention goers in May, who are, I think, probably likely to endorse Peggy Flanagan.
And just to clarify, I don't think anything has been announced officially by either campaign, but you're thinking pretty much no matter what, this is probably going to go to an August primary between Smith and Flanagan. You don't think either one of them is probably going to drop out either at the convention or just before?
Yeah, not likely. I mean, if Flanagan were to not win the endorsement, or she were to lose the endorsement, I think she'd probably drop out, because definitely she really needs that convention endorsement, and then Craig's financial advantage really would come into play. But I think Craig is definitely going to the primary.
And that's pretty much been the norm for DFLers for several years now. But today is the first step towards, well, making that long trek towards the endorsement process and then eventually to the primary that will take place in August. I want to switch gears now and talk a little bit about campaign finance for some of our Minnesota candidates. And one that you highlighted has to do with Mike Lindell. And it definitely jogged back an early memory for me, because my first job out of college was working for this woman who was a motivational speaker who had just written a book. And her goal was to be among the top 10 on the New York Times bestsellers. So for several weeks, I spent all of my time ordering books on Amazon for this author so she could eventually get on the New York Times bestseller. Now, the reason I bring this up is that Mike Lindell's campaign might be doing something similar for his gubernatorial campaign, because it looks like Mike Lindell's campaign is buying, well, just a boatload of Mike Lindell autobiographies so he can hand them out. What do you make of this whole situation with Mike Lindell apparently buying a bunch of his own books and then maybe eventually giving them away? Give us a little more light on what's happening with this.
Yeah, so if nothing else, Mike Lindell is always entertaining to cover. He gets in the race. He raises $352,000 last year. And then his campaign turns around and sends $190,000 of that over to MyPillow, of course, which he's the founder of, and pays for these his kind of famous memoir, which is called "What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO." So money goes right from the donors. I don't want to say into his pocket exactly, but it's pretty close because it's his company. We know that he and his company are having all kinds of financial problems. He was asked when he announced his campaign whether he was going to self-fund. I think there was an assumption that here's a rich pillow magnate who's going to fund his campaign. He said, "No, I'm broke. I don't have any money." he spent all his money in recent years on all kinds of things. One of them was trying to prove that the 2020 election was stolen, which it wasn't. And then, of course, he's made a lot of defamatory, or what litigants are saying were defamatory comments about voting machine companies like Dominion Voting and Smartmatic, and now he's faces civil awards in those cases, and so there's all kinds of evidence, including stuff he says himself, that he's having financial problems, and so he turns around and gives his company a little cash infusion by buying a bunch of these books. It certainly looks like a hustle. He says that like everybody else has campaign literature, he has books. So I suppose that's true. But anyway, we'll see if the Republican caucus goers and convention goers and primary voters care about this kind of grift, I guess I'd call it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good way to put it, and something that's not unfamiliar, being connected with someone like Mike Lindell. In terms of our other campaign finance numbers, did anything else jump out at you? I know as I was looking here that Governor Walz ended his campaign with about $3 million in his war chest, which of course is not going to be spent on his reelection since he's not running for governor anymore. But any other big numbers we should keep an eye on from Republicans and Democrats that were just recently released?
Yeah, Qualls, who got in May, he raised over $600,000. I suppose that's respectable. Robbins raised $550,000, and Damath, she was only in the race for a couple months, she raised $490,000. I think what's crucial about these numbers are that it really makes going to a primary unlikely, because so you really it puts all the marbles into the convention basket. You got to do well at caucus and then in convention season, and then win the endorsement. If you come out of the convention in May and you haven't been endorsed and you have a few $100,000, that's just not enough to run a viable primary campaign when your name recognition is probably pretty low, and you really have to spend a lot to get that name recognition up so people know who you are. So I think this is definitely a fight at the convention, and accepting Lindell, who has name recognition on his own, so he could probably go to the primary if he doesn't win at the convention. But the bottom line is all these candidates are going to come out of the convention without much money, and again, accepting Lindell without much name recognition, and they're facing Amy Klobuchar, the 100% name recognition, and she'll raise tons of money. And so I think that Republicans have gone from, in a short span of less than a month, or less than 3 weeks, they went from really having a decent shot at beating an incumbent governor who was badly wounded to now facing the prospect of a landslide.
Yeah, and as you said, with those fundraising numbers, it's going to be tough to try to keep up with Klobuchar, since she's been a prolific fundraiser, at least when she's run for Senate, and that probably won't change as she runs for governor. And as you were kind of saying, there's so many Republican candidates right now, there's only so much money among Republican donors that can go to each of them, that they could be kind of splintered as well. So for name recognition, yeah, that's a big problem for Republicans, since many are not known outside of Mike Lindell. We have been speaking with Patrick Houlihan. He is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Again, make sure you go to minnesotareformer.com to find the latest on what's happened in caucuses, as well as campaign finance, and then also the fun story of Mike Lindell spending a large chunk of his campaign money buying his own books. Read all about those over at minnesotareformer.com. Patrick, as always, thanks for coming on the show today.
Always a pleasure.
And let's take a break and send things back over to Matt McNeil on AM 950.
Get ready to zoom into a world full of color, música, and alegría at Children's Theater Company. Go Da Go, Ve Pero Ve is a bilingual musical bursting with playful, high-speed energy as dogs drive, swim, and race to the big dog party. This joyful espectáculo blends English y Espanol with expressive physical storytelling. Go Da Go is sure to have you laughing, moving, and howling with delight. On stage January 20th through February 22nd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for indoor winter activities. Cozy up with a book. They have all the bestsellers and new releases. Plus, their booksellers are great at making recommendations. Beyond books, enjoy mind-bending puzzles and family fun board games for those snowy days. And don't miss Next Chapter's in-store events, book clubs, author signings, and children's story time. So stay busy this winter with Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Uncover the rich history of Minnesota through Whoosh, a lively and deeply moving ghost tale. Solo artist Andrew Erskine Wheeler masterfully brings to life a range of characters, intertwining the rich history of St. Anthony Falls in the post-Civil War era with the story of its Irish heritage. This award-winning show weaves a hauntingly local and unforgettable ghost story through compelling song and storytelling. The History Theater's Whoosh plays January 29th through February 22nd. Find tickets at historytheater.com.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hey, this is Andy Otto, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride and your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Our community needs your help. Twin Cities Pride is collecting donations to help our local community in need. We're collecting everything from shelf-stable food to household cleaning supplies, infant care items, and personal care products at our Pride Cultural Arts Center. If you're looking to help, reach out to us at info@tcpride.org or just stop by 1201 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. It's our time to take care of our community and take care of each other all year long.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalks stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing. Because nobody likes shoveling snow.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 8, then Wednesday, cloudy with a high of 24. Go Dog Go, Vapero Ve is going on now at Children's Theater Company. Get tickets today for this joyful bilingual musical where delightful dogs drive, swim, play baseball, and race to the big dog party. Get your tickets at childrenstheater.org.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Broadcasting on the Blue Amp Media Network. That's at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. And, of course, also over on the YouTube page there. Good to have you there. As well, and, of course, on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show. First of all, some update here on the Venezuelan snow shovel attack force that had been accused of assaulting a federal immigration officer last month outside of a North Minneapolis duplex. A federal judge has ordered the release of the 2 Venezuelan men accused of assaulting a federal immigration officer. They're required to abide by several conditions on release, including that they remain in the state of Minnesota. One was accused of fleeing an ICE agent at high speeds before the alleged assault on January 14th. Is also subject to a GPS monitoring for weeks. The court weighed conflicting accounts on the incident, which once again was initially described by ICE agents as a snow shovel attack force from somewhere in South or Central America because reasons. And that wasn't the case at all. As a matter of fact, nothing that they said in their official report actually was true. So they have been released as well. I've got to read this gem for you if you want to get an idea of how bad things are at the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minnesota. The judge, this is Jerry Blackwell, pressed a lawyer, this is a DOJ attorney, Julia Lee, on why so many court orders are being ignored by ICE and Trump administration. Her exact quote, "The system sucks, this job sucks," she told the judge. She then asked to be held in contempt so she could get 24 hours of sleep. Yeah, things are going great for you guys right now. Just great for you. Wonderful. Unbelievable. Which brings up, if I'm going to talk about the attorney's office here, I should mention we had already had a mass exodus of U.S. attorneys. Now, I want to make sure I take the time once again to remind everybody of how we got here. The Republicans were looking to, there has been some fraud here in Minnesota in regards to people stealing money from some of the social safety net programs in the state. And it's been pretty bad. I'm not going to deny it. And definitely there was some mistakes that were made by the departments here. That doesn't sound like that there were people who were not doing their job. And it created a massive mess. And Republicans were giddy because this was going to be fraud. And what had happened is the Republican Speaker of the Minnesota House, and it sounds like the Republican Party in the Minnesota House, went and approached, and it's not clear, someone brought Nick Shirley here. This is the Utah Mama's boy. They brought him here to do a racist attack piece on Somali daycares. And that's, we remember this back in December. This was something. Now, I have a lot of questions. Did the Minnesota Republican Party pay him to come on out here? Did they pay him in taxpayer dollars? We do know that there was an official employee of the Minnesota House who was helping him by giving him the addresses and the locations of these Somali daycares that he was going to go and, frankly, attack. And so there does seem to be some level of question of who paid for this. I mean, someone had to pay for his flight. Someone had to pay for his hotel room, his car rental, food and meals, probably all that stuff. So who did that? That was a legit question that was being asked. Well, of course, the idea what they had was the Minnesota Republicans had was make this hit piece video, get it in front of Trump, have Trump basically rail against walls and the Democrats in the state, and try to use that to cruise to the victory in November in the state of Minnesota. And they had lined up at the U.S. Attorney's Office at that point a bunch of attorneys who seemed to be more than willing to go along and help the Republicans the best they can with talking points. One slight little problem, Trump's insane. And when they gave Trump this tape, that's when he said, we're going to send the ICE agents in to go get all those Somali people. And as you know, first Renee Good was killed. Then they shot the guys in North Minneapolis when the snow shovel attack force. The Whipple building's been turned into a gulag. They've been attacking people left and right. They kill Alex Preddy over on Eat Street in Minneapolis. It's been a nightmare. And yeah, this is how it's gone. Part of what had happened is the U.S. Attorney's Office, there were multiple attorneys who were working on these fraud cases because the Department of Justice demanded they drop the fraud cases and start prosecuting initially Renee Good's wife, the widow of Renee Good, and turning her and Renee Good into villains. And that was their only goal, was that they didn't care about fraud. They didn't care about this. They just wanted to vilify Renee Good and her widow. And so a whole bunch of people left. Well, now I just read that story. Please find me in contempt so I can go get 24 hours worth of sleep. Wow. What you've got now is another 8 lawyers from the Minnesota U.S. Attorney's Office have left or announced their intentions to leave, according to multiple people with knowledge of the situation. The departures amid turmoil in office already reeling from last month's massive resignation of 6 veteran prosecutors because of recent directives from the Department of Justice. That included the department's refusal to initiate a civil rights investigation into the killing of Renee Good by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents Jonathan Ross. They've been asked to defend immigration enforcement actions that are growing unpopular with the public. And one of the things which is very clear is that even though that some of these guys are definitely leaning on the Republican side of the aisle, they seem to be mostly being driven by this idea that there is justice and then there is injustice. And in this case, that the justice is that they basically prosecute these crimes. That, Renee Good did not need to be gunned down. Alex Preddy was clearly murdered in the street, and the DOJ doesn't want anything to do with that. They want, they want a personal grudge attack. That's what they want. Since 2022, more than 40 assistant U.S. attorneys have quit or retired, bringing total staffing in the criminal division to fewer than 20 attorneys, according to analysis from the office staffing totals by the Star Tribune. In prior years, people familiar with the office operation said there was at least 50 attorneys working on criminal cases. Minnesota's departure also comes as attorneys are leaving the U.S. Department of Justice since Trump started his second term. The Minnesota Star Tribune interviewed 6 former staffers in Minnesota's U.S. Attorney Office for this story, including 3 who left this year. They asked not to be named in fear of retribution from their former employer and concerns that going public would jeopardize future work opportunities. Tom Heffelfinger, who served as a U.S. Attorney in Minnesota under 2 Republican presidents, said the office has never been before dealt with this kind of turnover. And I made this point this morning. The same Republican Party who has been screaming because after George Floyd, we have been trying to purge out the racist element of the Minneapolis Police Department, the racist and incompetent elements that were there prior to the current O'Hara and his administration in this thing. It was the previous during the Bob Kroll reign there that there was all this racism in this, and so there's been a staff shortage at the Minneapolis Police Department. And every Republican in the state was screaming about how they can't even get cops there. But now you got this Republicans running off pretty much all the U.S. attorneys in Minnesota. Funny, none of the Republicans want to talk about that. Funny how when it's their side that they don't really want. Yeah, exactly. People familiar with the office's operations say Rosen, this is U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen, who's refused to comment on the departures, but said he encouraged staffers in recent meetings to keep an open mind and not be afraid to do unpopular things. He is assembling a new management team that had been led by former Assistant U.S. Attorney Joseph Tarab. Now, if you might remember him, he was the guy that took on Angie Craig in her district down in Minnesota 2 in 2024. When contacted by phone, Tarab did not deny his return to the office, but didn't comment any further. Rosen's office did not return request to discuss the new hires. The tipping point for some staffers came last week during a well-attended meeting on the criminal division. In front of nearly 24 attorneys and support staff, Rosen was asked a series of pointed questions about recent directives from the U.S. Department of Justice that troubled many attorneys. Rosen was pressed on the work they were being asked to do, as well as the work that wasn't getting done. One attorney sources asked Rosen why federal officials were freezing state and local investigators out of the homicide investigations of Good and Alex Preddy, who was shot to death by 2 federal agents on January 24th during an immigration enforcement action. The attorney pointed out that federal officials insisted on partnering with state investigators looking into the murder of George Floyd in 2020, which led to federal convictions for 3 officers for civil rights violations. Staff members also raised concerns about dozens of pending cases involving the alleged assault of federal officers, arguing government attorneys should also consider whether or not conduct might have led to their attack. So basically, they're saying, you want us to prosecute the people that were not ICE agents, but we're discovering, and at least the impression I'm getting from this, we're discovering evidence that the ICE agents might have provoked this whole thing, and they might be the guilty parties. But they're saying they can't investigate them. Staff members also, if the administration wanted us to focus on these kinds of interactions, fine, but let's do it on an even-handed way, said one attorney who resigned after the meeting. This was the ultimate example of selective prosecution. When attorneys objected to the directives, Rosen said he was advocating for him to his bosses, sources say. At one point, his staffer said Rosen also told the distraught group that they were not asking them to do anything illegal. Hey guys, it's not like I'm asking you to do anything illegal. Yeah, sure. In addition to the departure of 8 assistant U.S. attorneys, the former government lawyers said several key staff members also have recently departed, including the victim witness coordinator and an evidence technician, an FBI supervisor who oversaw fraud cases, Tracy Mergen, who resigned in January over the DOJ's handling of the Good case. Well, it's pretty clear what's going on. They're basically, and I want to make sure we understand what the Republican Party did, because once again, now the Republican Party is frantically running from what they started. And sure, you get some of the really kind of evil Republicans in the state going, kill them all, kill them all. But most of the Republicans have realized that even in rural parts of the state, this isn't exactly the most popular thing, especially once they went after the gun guys, because that really did turn a lot of people in outstate Minnesota against them. So what you've got is through Pam Bondi and the DOJ ordering them to not prosecute fraud anymore. I mean, that's well off the table. And considering how many people have left, there probably isn't going to be any fraud prosecution at all, which is even more damaging for the Republican Party, because that means the one person who's going to be prosecuting the fraud in the state is Keith Ellison, the Attorney General. And I guarantee you they don't want to give him any more publicity for getting guilty verdicts in these cases. So Keith Ellison is going to totally take over this. But even if he doesn't, no one's going to be prosecuting this, because obviously the DOJ is only focusing on a handful of selective things without anything else being focused on. So yeah, it's chaos over there. And I want to remind you that the Republican Party of Minnesota, namely the Minnesota House Republicans, did this to the state. They basically put into motion the things that got Renee Good and Alex Preddy murdered, that all the people who've been harassed and beaten and attacked and gassed in the city is courtesy of them. And they did this with the idea of winning the election by going after fraud, which is now no longer anywhere really on the table at this point, as much as they're going to start screaming, no, who cares about a few bodies in the street? Fraud! Now, I got news for you. Murders by ICE agents seems to be trumping, quite literally, your fraud investigations. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. The Matt McNeil Show here on your Tuesday.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. To avoid gimmicks, call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
In today's uncertain times, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces believes that a fire can add comfort and security to your life. At Woodland, our mission is to connect you to a place for fire that works.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces installed our wood stove years ago, and we still love it. Watching the fire, feeling the heat, is a joy we experience every day. And knowing we have a reliable heat source makes us feel snug and safe.
There are many choices in wood, gas, or electric. For diversity in styles, at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display over 180 models, and 35 of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
Uncover the rich history of Minnesota through Whoosh, a lively and deeply moving ghost tale. Solo artist Andrew Erskine Wheeler masterfully brings to life a range of characters, intertwining the rich history of St. Anthony Falls in the post-Civil War era with the story of its Irish heritage. This award-winning show weaves a hauntingly local and unforgettable ghost story through compelling song and storytelling. The History Theater's Whoosh plays January 29th through February 22nd. Find tickets at historytheater.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Get a little bit more of an update here in regards to some of the things that are going on. Three of the Star Tribune's heavyweight reporters, Reed Forgrave, Susan Dew, and Christopher Magan, got a sense of what life is like for immigrant detainees inside of Minneapolis's Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building. Apparently, they found out it's a nightmare, both in terms of due process and the living conditions. Turns out folks are crammed shoulder to shoulder amid overflowing toilets and provided one sandwich per day meals. Wow. One sandwich per day meals. One cell reportedly held so many people that the rest of the night they had to take turns lying down. Requests for medical care have been denied. Also, U.S. Representative Kelly Morrison, who's actually my House rep, reports no real medical infrastructure or systems exist. So once again, this is one of those for-profit guys that ran in here right away when Trump said, I need places to go, and they're still they're jamming the money in their pockets while people are being held in gulag-like conditions. This is why they don't want House members to come see what's going on inside these facilities, because I think when we find out what exactly has been going on in these facilities, this is going to be there are going to be people going to The Hague to be tried for the mistreatment of human beings. Basic human needs like food and medical care were sometimes denied. There is no humanity inside the Whipple building. A class action lawsuit alleges that the building, which was not designed for housing prisoners, has become the epicenter for systemic deprivation of fundamental constitutional and legal rights at the hands of the federal government. The sadistic response the DHS sent back in response, this is the best health care that many aliens have received in their entire lives. It's just disturbing. It's just disturbing. I will say this, the Whipple building, I'm a vet, and when I came back from the military back in 1992, one of the first things I had to do was go over to the Whipple building and kind of just check in with the VA over there. And that was at the time they were in the Whipple building. That is like, okay, so it was like a half medical facility, half office building. I mean, they would process military paperwork there. And if you're in Minneapolis, the new VA, the larger VA, where they've got a bigger hospital and bigger facility, that's actually north of the Whipple building now. That's nowhere near, it's kind of on the other side of the main highway there. But so I am kind of dumbfounded here because I spent time in the Whipple building as a veteran coming back. How did you even make cells in that place? Because that's not what it ever was. It was never designed to be a prison. It was designed to be kind of an office complex / medical center. Like I said, just prepare yourself for the crimes against humanity that we have been committing under the guise of Trump. Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow with Jeff Stein. Till then, see ya.
Peace of mind shouldn't